Grace, you are trying to be godly, he said softly, but you never make an impact until you are willing to sacrifice. Grace frowned. Sacrifice? I already gave everything I have to God. Not that kind, Pastor Benji whispered. A covenant sacrifice, one that opens true power, influence, connection, prosperity. See, you will touch millions, but you must give up something precious. One stormy Sunday morning in Lagos, thunder rumbled above the city as heavy rain hammered on the roof of Divine Light Ministry. Inside the massive hall, desperate crowd pressed shoulder to shoulders. They had all come to see the famous Prophetess Grace Adeniran, the woman everyone called Mama Revelation. Some said she could look into a person's eyes and expose secrets buried deep within their soul. Others saw she spoke directly with God himself. But that morning, there was something uneasy in the air, something that didn't feel holy at all. Suddenly, a loud scream shattered the silence. A young woman, Faith, Mama Revelation's trusted aide, rushed to the altar, her voice trembling with excitement. She did it again. Mama healed him. The cripple can now walk. The congregation erupted. Drums thundered. Women danced. Some fell to their knees crying, shouting, "Power! Power!" The once lame man stood shakingly on his feet, tears streaming as he lifted his hands to heaven. Phones flashed everywhere, capturing proof of the miracle. At the back of the hall sat a quiet young woman named Evelyn Adebayo. She clapped slowly, her brows drawn together in confusion, because just 3 days earlier, she had seen the same man walking normally in the market, laughing and buying roasted corn. Her heartbeat quickened. Was this really a miracle or a performance? That was the same man I saw a few days ago in the market. She glanced towards the pulpit. Mama Revelation stood tall in a golden lace gown that shimmered beneath the church lights. Her smile was warm, yet carried the cold confidence of someone untouchable. "Children of God," she began, her voice echoing through the hall. "You have witnessed the power of the Almighty, but this is only the beginning. Greater miracle awaits those who believe." The crowd screamed her name. "Mama Revelation! Mama, reveal it all." Evelyn's stomach turned. Her spirit felt unsettled, her faith wrestling with doubts. One part of her wanted to believe, but the other whispered that something wasn't right about this woman of God. Her seatmate, a plump woman in a purple head tie, leaned closer, smiling. "You see her? I tell you, this woman carried grace. She too get power." Evelyn forced a weak smile, but inside, she was thinking, if this is truly from God, why does it feel so wrong? As the choir sang and incense filled the air, Evelyn's eyes lingered on Mama Revelation, and though she didn't know it yet, that single moment of doubt was the beginning of a truth that would shake the entire church to its foundation. Years ago, Grace Adeniran was just a girl from a small part of Lagos, a humble, God-fearing neighborhood where everyone knew everyone. Her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Adeniran, were devoted Christians who raised her with one rule: Grace, no matter what life gives you, never leave the light of God. She grew up in the church, teaching Sunday school, leading the youth choir, organizing prayer meetings. Her soft voice could calm even the restless, and her smile carried warmth that made people believe she was destined for greatness. The elders often said, "That girl go do wonder for God though." But somewhere along the line, the light that burned so brightly inside her began to fade. Years later, Grace tried to start her own ministry, a small rented hall with plastic chairs and borrowed speakers. She fasted, prayed, and preached with passion, yet only a handful of people attended her services. Weeks turned into months, bills piled up, and slowly, desperation began to whisper in her ears. She started comparing herself to other pastors, the one with thousands of followers, big cars, private jets, and expensive suits. How are they doing it? She wondered. They preach the same gospel, but the world listens to them, not me. Then came the invitation, a letter embossed in gold, sealed with a cross. It was from Pastor Benjamin Oladipo, popularly known as Pastor Benji, leader of the Dominion Leader Conference in Lekki. Grace attended, dressed in her best Ankara and low heels. They all glittered with chandeliers and television cameras. Famous preachers paraded the stage, each claiming to hold the secret to divine impact. During a private session, Pastor Benji pulled her aside. His smile was charming, but his words were chilling. "Grace, you are trying to be godly," he said softly, "but you will never make an impact until you are willing to sacrifice." Grace frowned. "Sacrifice? I already gave everything I have to God." "Not that kind," Pastor Benji whispered. "A covenant sacrifice, one that opens true power, influence, connection, prosperity. See, you will touch millions, but you must give up something precious." At first, Grace hesitated, but the words, influence and prosperity, rang in her mind long after the meeting ended. That night, in a candlelit room filled with incense, she stood among pastors dressed in white robes. They circled her, chanting in a language she didn't understand. Pastor Benji handed her a bowl of dark water. "To rise," he said, "you must sacrifice the womb that births ordinary things, so your spirit can birth extraordinary ones." Tears rolled down her cheeks as she repeated the oath. Her body trembled, fear wrestling with ambition. And when it was over, something inside her felt empty. Yet, an unseen power wrapped around her shoulders like a dark cloak. Grace Adeniran, the humble church girl, was gone. In her place stood Mama Revelation, reborn through a covenant she could never undo. From that moment, everything changed. Crowd began to flood a tiny church. People claimed they see visions. The sick said they were healed. Her name spread across Lagos, from Mushin to Ikoyi, from local radios to national TVs. And with every miracle, her wealth grew. She moved into a mansion in Magodo, imported cars, and built a cathedral that seated thousands. The world saw a prophetess anointed by God, but beneath the glittering lace and holy oil lurked something ancient and sinister. Grace had become a hybrid of darkness, a half-human, half-serpent being, whose power traced back to the mysterious underwater covenant she entered during that ritual. Every midnight, she would vanish from her luxurious mansion in Magodo, leaving the world of mortals behind. In the dead of night, she shed her human form and transformed into a creature with scales as dark as midnight. That transformation marked her journey to the underwater kingdom, where her true allegiance lay. Grace would slip silently into the river behind her mansion, disappearing beneath the surface as if swallowed by earth itself. There, in the depths of the river, Grace Adeniran joined her occultic brothers and sisters, other pastors and prophets who had pledged themselves to the marine kingdom. Together, they shared twisted wisdom, dark strategies, and secrets that kept their congregation bound in deception. For Grace, this was where her true power came from. The Marine Queen, a towering figure with serpent-like features, bestowed upon her strength, vision, and ability to peer into the hidden lives of her followers. But every gift demanded a price: her soul, her humanity, and most painful, her womb. Grace's sacrifices had left her barren, a trade she willingly made to gain authority and influence in the physical world. Back in the church in Lagos, no one suspected a thing. To them, Prophetess Grace Adeniran, Mama Revelation, was a holy woman of God. They were oblivious to her midnight disappearance. Our congregation continued to grow. People flocked from across Nigeria and beyond, desperate for healing, miracles, and deliverance. Those seeking her favor would pay any price, from money and livestock to precious family heirloom. Grace's ministry became a relentless machine, swallowing people's hope and wealth alike. Within months, she began introducing strange new practices. Each member received a mirror, which she called the mirror of life. "This mirror is blessed by the Almighty Himself," she would declare. "Each morning, look into it and speak to your spirit. You will see the parts of yourself that need healing." The members cherished their mirrors, believing they were on a journey of spiritual growth. But in reality, those mirrors were portals linked to the marine world. Through them, Mama Revelation could spy into their lives, studying their fears, their weaknesses, and their secrets. One Sunday, she called a young woman named Kemi Yusuf to the front. "Last night, you argued with your husband about his job, didn't you?" she said, a faint smile curving her lips. Kemi gasped, "Mama, how did you know?" The crowd erupted. People shouted in awe, convinced that the prophetess could read souls. But the truth was darker. Grace had used the mirror to summon Kemi's spirit during the night, gathering all she needed to make her revelation sound divine. Soon after, she introduced holy water and miracle oil, bottled with simple labels, but sold at outrageous prices. Grace would wave her hand over them, claiming, "This can heal the sick, fix your marriage, and open doors to prosperity." The following Sunday, Mama Revelation's voice echoed through the grand hall. As her eyes scanned the crowd, her gaze settled on a young man in the middle row, Michael Okafor, a recently returned graduate visiting his mother. Having heard of Mama Revelation's divine insights, they had come seeking a blessing. Grace's face brightened. "Young man, please come forward," she said softly. Michael hesitated, but his mother nudged him. "Go, my son, this could be your blessing." When he reached the altar, Grace raised her hand in a gesture of revelation. Her voice dropped to a solemn tone. "The Lord has revealed something troubling to me, my son. Your life battery is running dangerously low. I see darkness ahead if nothing is done." They all fell silent. Michael's pulse quickened. He didn't even know what life battery meant, but the seriousness on Mama Revelation's face terrified him. "Mama, what does that mean?" he stammered. Grace placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "It means, my son, that if nothing is done quickly, you will not live to see your 30s. Marriage, children, all of it will be lost unless you act now." His mother gasped, clutching her chest. Grace continued, her tone shifting to hope. "But the Lord has provided a solution, a way to renew your life battery. You must make a sacrifice, a powerful seed, something that costs you dearly. For the Lord blesses those who give from the heart." The terrified mother asked, "What kind of sacrifice, Mama?" Grace nodded knowingly. "The Lord has directed me. Your son's life can be renewed through the sacrifice of a cow. Not just any cow, but one that represents new life, strong and without blemish." Michael's mind raced. He had heard of sacrifices before, but never like this. "Mama, I don't know where to find a cow right now." Grace waved her hand. "Don't worry, my son. The Lord understands. You can convert this sacrifice into a seed. Give the amount, and I will take care of the rest. The church has a way of handling things like this. Just obey and trust the word of the Lord." His mother whispered urgently, "Michael, don't delay. Do what Mama Revelation says. Your life is worth more than any money." Shaking, he agreed. He pulled out his checkbook and wrote a large sum. Grace smiled, receiving it with calm satisfaction. "Your obedience has pleased the Lord. Your life is now in God's hands." Relieved but trembling, Michael returned to his seat, while his mother whispered endless thanks to the prophetess. What they didn't know was that Grace had no intention of buying any cow or offering any sacrifice. As always, she redirected the money to fund a lavish mansion project on the outskirts of Lagos. This was not her first manipulation, and it will not be her last. Michael's experience was only one of many in Mama Revelation's church. In Grace Adeniran's church, Evelyn Adebayo watched quietly from a distance. She began gathering stories like Michael's, and soon she saw the pattern. These so-called prophecies were nothing more than calculated lies, spiritual theater designed to drain the congregation financially. Evelyn's heart ached, but she also felt anger rising. She prayed for courage, asking God to help her expose Mama Revelation's deception no matter the cost. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but she believed that one day, people like Michael would be set free. Despite her doubts, Evelyn kept attending services, listening, observing, and waiting. One Sunday, something happened she couldn't ignore. An elderly man in a wheelchair was rolled to the altar. Mama Revelation placed her hand on his forehead, whispered a prayer, And suddenly, the man stood up, trembling, shouting that he could walk. The church erupted in praise, but Evelyn's eyes froze. She recognized him. He was a trader she had seen walking around the marketplace just days earlier. He wasn't crippled at all. He was an actor, paid to perform miracles that would keep the offering flowing. As months passed, Grace Adeniran became one of the wealthiest women in Lagos. Her mansion glittered with gold-plated furniture, exotic cars lined her driveway, and servants bowed at her command. She called it a reward from God. But Evelyn knew the truth. No blessing had ever reached the poor members who kept giving until they had nothing left. Grace's power wasn't just in deception, it was in control. She could break families with a single prophecy. Her favorite targets were wealthy, influential men, especially those she sensed were emotionally weak. If she desired a married man, she would conjure a vision during service. She would declare with conviction, "The Lord is showing me a dark cloud around your household. Someone close to you is blocking your blessings." One infamous Sunday, she called out a businessman, Mr. Okiki, to the front. Raising her hand dramatically, she declared, "Brother Okiki, the spirit of envy and greed surrounds your home. I see someone working against your destiny, your wife." The man gasped, "My wife?" Grace nodded solemnly. "Do not fear. With my spiritual guidance, we can break this curse." Over time, she convinced Mr. Okiki that his wife's negative energy was destroying his business. She urged him to pull away emotionally and submit to her deliverance program. But in truth, Grace wanted him for herself. She began sending private messages, inviting him to special prayer sessions at her Magodo mansion. What began as counseling turned into manipulation and soon graduated into sin. Mr. Okiki fell into an affair, believing loyalty to Mama Revelation would bring him divine favor. It was only one of many. Grace's power spread like poison, planting doubts, tearing marriages apart, and feeding her ego with every soul she corrupted. Evelyn grew increasingly disturbed as she uncovered more of these dark tactics. This wasn't just spiritual deception, it was predatory control. Our once admired prophetess had become a master of exploitation. Then came another shocking discovery. Grace began selling holy water, claiming it could heal sickness, restore fortunes, and solve any problem. Members left jerrycans in her office, paying high fees for prayers. Behind closed door, she merely poured salt and sugar into the water. Evelyn later overheard her aide, Felix and Faith, laughing about it. Can you imagine? They are paying thousands for a sprinkle of salt and sugar, Felix said jokingly. Evelyn's heart pounded, but courage burned brighter. She knew Grace's days of deceit were numbered. One moonless night, Evelyn decided to uncover the truth herself. She hid behind the tree near the river behind Grace's mansion, phone clutched tightly, camera ready. The clock struck midnight. From the shadows, she saw Mama Revelation step into the open, dressed in a flowing white robe that shimmered faintly under the moonlight. She walked towards the river bank, her movements slow and deliberate, as if in trance. Grace began to chant, a strange ancient language that twisted the air around her. Then, right before Evelyn's eyes, the impossible happened. Grace's skin began to glisten. Black scales crawled up her legs. Her body shifted, merging, transforming. Her eyes glowed a deep, unnatural green as she slid silently into the water, vanishing beneath the surface with ease and a splash. Evelyn's breath caught in her throat. Her hands trembled, but she kept recording. What she just witnessed wasn't tricky. It was something beyond human. When dawn came, Evelyn returned to the church with a heavy heart but unshakable resolve. Now she understood. Grace Adeniran wasn't just a fraud. She was bound to forces darker than anyone could imagine. And Evelyn knew her mission was no longer about exposing lies, but about freeing souls trapped under Grace's control. During the next Sunday service, Mama Revelation's eyes lingered on Evelyn. Her smile was sharp, knowing. At the altar call, she suddenly announced, "There is someone here with every burden. The Lord says it must be lifted today." Evelyn, come forward. Evelyn froze. The congregation turned to look. She stepped forward slowly, her pulse racing. Grace placed a cold hand on her forehead and whispered, "You are treading dangerous waters. My child, some secrets are meant to be uncovered." A chill ran down Evelyn's spine. She refused to back down. From that day, her courage became a guiding light. She gathered every recordings, photo, and testimony she could find, proof of Grace's deception and dark practices. When she finally released everything to the media, the country exploded in shock. Reports spread like wildfire, exposing the fake miracles, occult ties, and staged healings of Mama Revelation. The same congregation that once worshipped her now wept in disbelief, mourning the years and money they had lost. In her final address, Evelyn stood before the broken church and said, "My brothers and sisters, this experience has taught us something powerful. Not everyone who calls themselves a prophet speaks for God. We must be watchful, discerning, and seek truth beyond appearances." She paused, tears glistening in her eyes. But do not lose faith. There are still true servants of God, humble men and women who live by love and sincerity, not greed and deceit. Their light still burns. Follow that light. If this story moved you, don't just scroll away. Subscribe to Nigerian Life Stories for more interesting tales. Share your thoughts below. Your comments might inspire our next story. Like this video to support true storytelling that sheds light on darkness. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the greatest miracle is opening your eyes. Bye for now.